This video goes with Kittel and Hoffer's Biblical Hebrew Lesson 18, covering Cal imperatives and more about adjective use. Let's begin by practicing pronunciation. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Quite a bit of this sentence ought to already be apparent to us, so let's work through what we already know. Here we have proper name that occurs twice. We've seen this since the very beginning of the semester. This is the proper name of the deity, which we translate as the Lord, or Adonai. This is also a proper name, which is quite familiar to us. Yisrael, of course, is Israel. Here we have a vocabulary word, echad, which means one. And here we have Eloheinu, which ought to be at least partially familiar to us. So Eloheinu is Elohim plus nu. Now let's review possessive suffix. So let's review possessive suffixes. Third masculine singular is going to involve a vav. Sometimes it's simply v, and sometimes it's holem vav, o. But if you see a vav on the end of a word, typically third masculine singular possessive suffix. Third feminine singular is going to be either a with our mapik, or the feminine period, or sometimes ha, and we'll talk about when it'll be which one later. Second masculine singular, your, cha, cough with a little bow tie. Second feminine singular, ch, cough with a little pearls. First common singular then is either e or I, and we'll talk about the difference later. Third masculine plural is hem or just mem. Third feminine plural, hen or just n, nun. Second masculine plural, kem. Again, cough with a masculine m. Ken, cough with a not masculine nun. And then first common plural, nu. Now what we have here is nu. So Eloheinu is Elohim plus nu, which is the one common plural possessive suffix, our God. Eloheinu. So when we put all of our words in place, this is what we have. In fact, we already know everything but our verb, which is here, shema. Now this verb form is something that we haven't seen before, so before we can parse it, we need to discuss Cal imperatives. Now the imperative is a command, so telling someone what to do. In general, the Cal imperative is formed by removing the prefix from the second person prefix form. So for instance, second masculine singular prefix form for shema is tishma. If we take our prefix and remove it, then we have shema, which is in fact our form from the verse. Notice that we still have these two vowels. We have these as well in the imperative form. Nothing has changed other than the prefix has been removed. So tishma becomes shema. This means hear, a command to a masculine singular person. So the strong form then is tifkod. Once again, same procedure, remove the prefix and you get pkod. Here you see vowels, same in both forms. Tifkod, prefix form, pkod is the imperative. This would mean visit. Now you may have noticed that we have a problem here, which is that our vowel pattern pkod is also the form of the infinitive construct. And in fact this is true in the cow, and actually in almost all of the stems, although not quite. But the imperative masculine singular and the infinitive construct have the same form. P'kod in both cases. Now we can look at other forms of the cal imperative as well. The cal imperative, all imperatives can be masculine or feminine. They can be singular or plural. So we've just learned the masculine singular cal imperative. So let's look at the other forms. Used the same way, you take the prefix form for the desired gender and number, and then you just remove the prefix. So if we want to look at the masculine plural imperative, then what we would do is take the 2MP form of the prefix of p'kad, which is tifkadu. Now we take our prefix and remove it, which gives us p'kadu. You recognize this as an impossible form because you have these two vocal schwas next to each other. What happens, as you know, is the first of these schwas will resolve itself to a hirek. So from tifkadu, the prefix, to pikdu, the imperative. And this means visit, you men. Okay, if we want to then look at feminine singular form, as you know, the prefix is tifkadi. So take our prefix and remove it. This gives us another impossible form, p'kadi. So we have to resolve our vowel issues here. And so this gives us pikdi. This means visit, you woman. And if we want to look at the feminine plural, then we take our prefix form, tifkodna, take our prefix, remove it, gives us p'kodna. Here we have a schwa, vocal schwa in the first syllable, so there's nothing about this form that needs to be resolved. So p'kodna, retaining our O-class vowel. This means visit, you women. Now our form in this sentence is simply shema, which we can now recognize as being from the root shema, of course, the cal, imperative, masculine singular. We don't need to specify a person for an imperative because imperatives always are in the second person. They're instruction to a you. So no special features, and it means here. When you write an imperative in a paradigm or even in a translation for now, you need to mark person and gender. So here, masculine singular. Now we can come back to our sentence. We know all the words now. There are actually several ways to translate this sentence. So Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. The beginning is fairly clear. Hear, O Israel. You don't have to have the O. It's a clear indicator of a vocative, but you could say, Hear, Israel. Normally you hear this see this translated, Hear, O Israel. Now then, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. This could mean the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Or we could translate, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Here what we've done is read these as nominal sentences, supplying a verb. Or we could translate, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. This is a possible meaning of echad instead of one, meaning the only one, or the Lord alone. Now this is Deuteronomy 6:4, and it is a key verse in Judaism. This is the beginning of the prayer known as the Shema, and now you see why the prayer is called the Shema, because it begins with the word Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. So this could be understood as saying the Lord is one, or the Lord alone is God, and those actually may mean the same thing. Now the last thing we need to do in this lesson is talk a little further about adjectives. So you've seen adjectives before and you know that they can be attributive or they can be predicative. So an attributive adjective is always after the noun it modifies and it always agrees. And when we say agrees, we mean indefiniteness. So for instance, haaretz hatova. Here the adjective hatova comes after the noun haaretz, and they are both definite. That is, they both have the definite article. So this would be translated the good land. That is the only way that this can be translated correctly. Haaretz hatova, the good land. It is also possible to have an attributive adjective in which neither the noun nor the adjective is marked as definite. So here they still agree, but they agree in lack of definiteness. And notice that the adjective tova is still after. So attributives always after, always agree. Eretz tova, a good land. We can also translate our demonstrative adjective haaretz hazot. This is an attributive. Demonstrative simply means the one near to you. So this one. So this land. This is an attributive adjective, and it is the demonstrative adjective, meaning this. Now we can also talk about predicative adjectives. You remember that predicatives form a sentence. That is, they provide the predicate to the noun. So the rule for predicates is they're usually before, but they may be after, and they are never definite. If you see a definite adjective, it is not predicative. So for instance, here we have tova haaretz. Now you see here the adjective tova comes before the noun haaretz, and it is not definite. So this has to be a predicative adjective. It cannot be attributive because the adjective comes before the noun and these disagree in definiteness. So this is a clear case of a predicative adjective. The land is good. Now it is also possible for the adjective to come after the noun. So here you see hamelech zaken. The noun hamelech is definite. The adjective zaken is indefinite. That means, since they disagree in definiteness, this cannot be attributive. Therefore, it must be predicative. So hamelech zaken, the king is old. We can also have this case with a demonstrative, zot haaretz. This is the land. Now there is one ambiguous case. That is when the adjective comes after the noun and both the adjective and the noun are indefinite. So for instance, eretz tov. Now let's think about our attributive rules. If attributive adjective, the adjective must come after the noun. That is true in this case. For an attributive adjective, the noun and the adjective must agree in definiteness. Here they are both indefinite. So it is possible to translate this as a good land. Now let's check our rules for the predicative adjective. For a predicative adjective, usually the adjective comes before the noun, but it is possible for it to come after. So this passes that test. The other rule for a predicative adjective is that the adjective cannot be definite. So here the adjective tov is not definite. So this also passes the requirements for a predicative adjective. So this could just as well be translated, a land is good. So in the case where the adjective comes after the noun and neither one is definite, that is our ambiguous case. It passes the rules for both attributive and predicative and can be translated either way, depending on context. So if we look at Melech Zakein, similarly here we have an adjective after a noun. Neither one of them is definite, so we could translate this attributively, an old king. We could translate this predicatively, a king is old. So here, Shema Shema, or Shmi Shmi, depending on who you are. Congratulations on finishing Unit 18. I'll see you in class.